What's up, everyone? It's Bones here. In today's video, I'll be featuring S-Force as I continue my journey through Cyberstorm Access. But before I begin, if you could happen to click on those thumbs up and subscribe buttons, it would be greatly appreciated as it goes a long way in supporting the channel and shows me that you like content like this. Clicking on those notification bells would also mean a lot as they notify you when I upload on the channel. So for this first replay, and I want to talk about how the S-Force deck is a little bit unique in the way it plays, but it's also a little bit linear, I almost want to say. As you'll see in our hand, we actually have our two searchers with the field spell Bridgehead, along with the Gravitino, which happens to be a level 5, which can be a little bit of a downer at times, but it's still a searcher, and I'll show off how we can get that off, as we're going to get our Chiyomaru off of the S-Force field spell, and then from here we can use the Chiyomaru in order to banish our Gravitino from our hand, and then put it back in our hand in order to special summon out our Edge Razor, which is a level 4, and this one basically just allows us to special summon an S-Force monster from our hand. But do keep in mind that this is also an archetype that has a few column effects, where if you read Edge Razor, it says each of your opponent's monsters in the same column as your S-Force monsters cannot be used as material for the link summon of a link 3 or higher monster. So there is some utility with that. The main part being, of course, to get your plays going, as we're going to bring out the Chiyomaru off of its effect. And I would also like to talk about how the cards are kind of weird, where you do have some consistency cards like Chiyomaru and Gravitino, but then it's like the other half of the archetype is a bunch of extenders, or they're just board ending cards, sort of like this, where it's not really a lot of a board ending card, but the column effects can matter in some matchups, how you play them. There's even a searchable sort of hand trap that you have, even though it kind of does nothing on your opponent's turn. But this is the new card that we're getting, and I'll have a picture of it on the screen. S-Force Night Chaser reads, it takes one non-link S-Force monster. Each of your opponent's monsters in the same column as one of your S-Force monsters cannot target the same column for its attacks. During the main phase quick effect, you can target one S-Force monster you control, shuffle it into the deck, then you can special summon one of your banished S-Force monsters. You can only use this effect of S-Force Night Chaser once per turn. So it's kind of cute to end with, where you can leave it on the field for your opponent's turn just to shuffle one of your own S-Force back, and then summon out one of the column S-Force monsters so that you can put it in a column where your opponent has a monster to kind of try to stun them. But from here we're then going to use the effect put back our Edge Razor, as we're going to bring back the Gravitino, and then we're going to use its effect in order to get the search for the retroactive. And the retroactive is sort of like a microcoder that allows you to use it as a link material from the hand for an S-Force monster, but also during the main phase, if you normal summon it or special summon it, you can return it to the hand, and if you do special summon one level 2 or higher monster, as long as it's an S-Force monster, from your hand. And if an S-Force monster you control would banish a card from your hand to activate an effect, you can activate this card from your graveyard instead. And I would like to point out that that's kind of like more of a follow-up turn in this specific deck, because you'll notice that there's not a lot of popping off that you're going to do, and this is a deck that gets its resources over time. And for the first line of play, you're actually going to see that I'm going to go straight into the link 3, and I'm doing this just because I want to show how you get there, along with different end boards that you can do. So with this just being the first one, I'll take you on to the next one. So you'll see that we're starting with the Gravitino and the field spell again, because as I said, there is different directions that you can take it. You don't have to directly climb into your link 3, and we're going to bring out our Chiyomaru, then we're going to bring out the Platina off of the Chiyomaru by banishing the Gravitino for the Chiyomaru. Tina will allow us to bring back the Gravitino, and this will be able to net us a search. From here we're going to get a search for the S-Force trap, the Chase, and this one basically is a compulsory for face-up cards your opponent controls up to the number of S-Force monsters you control, but then it also has a similar effect to retroactive in the graveyard, where if an S-Force monster you control would banish a card from your hand to activate its effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. Each effect is a hard once per turn, but still a solid trap, and you'll see how, again, we're not really ending with much in this particular hand, as we're just going to set one potential hand traps with other stuff that you can use to fortify your turn ones, and you can maybe make an IP here if you have another body to bring out. The only reason that I didn't go to the IP here is because we don't have an extra body to bring out. You could go into your link 1, shuffle something, and get another S-Force monster back into the deck, but I didn't want to run through resources just because it really depends on the hand that you might have, and what you do definitely depends on just that. This next combo, and again we'll be starting with Bridgehead, but this time around we have the Lap, and what I want to show here is kind of how you make a easy Zeus play, and we're going to get our Chiyomaru as we're going to use its effect in order to banish the Lap, get the Tina off of our Chiyomaru, and then the Tina can special summon back the Lap, and from here we have rank 6 access, which from here you can even go into the Gaia Charger if you want to inflict piercing damage, which can help you for time, and then you can go into your Zeus. Now, finally, one with sort of different cards. We still have the Gravitino, but we're going to normal summon our retroactive, use its effect on field in order to bring itself back to hand. Then we can special summon out the Gravitino. We're then going to get ourselves a search for the field spell, getting us into our basic setup that you've seen previously. And you'll see that we're going to get the dog tag. And this is the pseudo hand trap that I was talking about, though it's a really bad one at that. I don't want to say it's a bad one because it has some board breaking implications, but the problem is that during your main phase, your opponent cannot activate the effects of monsters in the same column as one of your S-Force monsters. So do keep in mind that is during your main phase, not your opponent's, though you do have an effect that reads if your opponent normal or special summons a monster while you control an S-Force monster, except during the damage step, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can only use the effect of S-Force dog tag once per turn, so that's kind of why I say it's more of a board breaking card, where if your opponent special summons something on your turn, you can react with this, but it's just kind of weird that you can use it as a hand trap / body on your opponent's turn. Maybe make sure that you don't die or whatever, but that's like the best utility you're going to get out of it. You do have the retroactive, which can help you link into plays if you happen to have other stuff in hand, but I'm showing the low resource plays just because I would like to keep the videos somewhat realistic to what you may see in your opening hand, especially when you consider how much space this deck actually has for consistency cards along with hand trap. This next combo will be using the Edge Razor and the Gravitino, and again, as I said, it's very straightforward. You want to get into your searcher / extenders. You want to be able to get into your end board cards. Here we could have gotten the dog tag if you were breaking a board. We could have also gone into our trap if you wanted a compulse, depending on the matchup for face-up cards. Keep in mind that if we do get the dog tag, you could even potentially, if your opponent normal or special summons a monster on your turn, special summon out the dog tag, then have a potential Link 1 play. But because your Link 1 also special summons something back that's banished, it does limit what you can do here, and of course things change if you are under D-Fisher or Shifter. For this next one, and really for the next couple, I want to talk about Small World and some of the bridges that you can do in regards to your deck building choices so that you can play this deck more consistently, even if the power isn't quite up there with something like Super Heavy Samurai that makes crazy boards. Same thing with Kashtira, where it has the flexibility to do a million things. But we're going to bring out our Razor off the normal summon, special summon out the Gravitino, then we can get ourselves the field spell. The field spell will be able to get us a search as we're going to get the dog tag. Keep in mind, you really could have gotten yourself the trap instead of the field spell, and you also could have gone into your Link 1 if you were under Shifter, and then special summon back the Edge Razor by shuffling back your other S-Force and then bringing out the level 6 and stuff like that. It's dependent on what your hand is, probably, as I've repeated the millionth time. So I'll take you on to the next combo. And we again have Small World. This time we do have the Chiyomaru in hand, and we're still going to banish our Gamma, I believe, as we reveal the Santa Claus, and then we get ourselves the Gravitino. And now we can normal the Chiyomaru, banish the Gravitino as we can get into our level 6, and then from here we can bring back the Gravitino, use the effect of the Gravitino as we'll get ourselves a search for the retroactive. And now, of course, you could have searched yourself the trap card, you could have gotten the field spell for dog tag, or you could get access into your Link 3. It's not really a whole lot that you're doing, but do keep in mind that there are a lot of powerful cards that you can play with this in order to slow your opponent down to your pace. Now, onto the deck profile, and you may see some of the straightforward things I was talking about with the retroactive, the Chiyomaru, and the Gravitino being all at 3. That's why I featured them so much, really, as the Platina is something that you're special summoning off of one of your S-Force monsters as the Edge Razor is also a potential thing that you can normal summon to bring this out if you draw it. But then you also have the one of Dog Tag. I was playing two, but I decided to go to Edge Razor instead because this just feels so low impact. Then we have the one Lap, which you could also play two of if you would like the extra level 6, especially with Kashtira still being a deck. Then as for the options here, you do see that you can play Ghost Ogres over two of the Santa Claus. That would work as well. There's also the Fenrirs that you can play if you want to strengthen your turn 1 boards. There can be only one in Dimensional Fisher or other side deck options that you can play. And I would also like to talk about Aura Fist, which is another card that you can potentially play that happens to be one of those board-ending S-Force cards, where when a monster your opponent controls activates its effect, you can banish one S-Force card from your hand, destroy that monster. So, a cool card here, but it's also a brick. It depends on the choices that you want to make in constructing your deck and what you're preparing for, but just worth a mention in my opinion, as I do have the Dark Ruler and the Lightning Storm here because I do feel that these are other good side deck cards for this particular format, where Lightning Storm just helps you play around back row decks that aren't playing Lord of the Heavenly Prison or aren't under it, and Dark Ruler No More can help you break those unbreakable boards that this deck wouldn't otherwise be able to keep up with. Anyways, with all of that out of the way, I'm going to get onto the deck profile because the extra deck is very standard. You have 3 of each of your S-Force, just a bunch of generic staples. So we have the 3 Bridgehead, the 3 Gravitino, the 3 Chiyomaru, the 3 Retroactive, the 3 Small World, the 3 Prosperity, the 1 Chase, the 2 Tina, the 1 Terraforming, the 2 Edge, the 1 Tag, the 1 Blap, the 1 Driver, the 1 Reinforcement of the Army, the 3 Ash, the 3 Gamma, the 3 Santa Claus, the 3 Dimensional Shifter to round out the main deck. Onto the extra deck, we have the 3 Night Chaser, we have the 1 Nightmare Phoenix, we have the Lena, the Dark, the 3 S-Force Justify, the 1 Appaloosa, the Access Code, Underworld Goddess, Drudge, Gaia Charger, and Zeus to round out the deck profile. Anyways, if you made it this far into the video, I thank you so much for watching and I hope you enjoyed. If you have any suggestions, feel free to leave them down below. It's Bones, signing out.